Salutations, ladies and gents. It's Snuffle here, and today I wanted to touch on something related to morals, not like ethics or anything super tedious like that in a way. But it'll start off with this on the topic of like good and evil. But one is a proposal you can ask someone and it involves morality in the terms of subjective and objective. And first, I'll start off with the explanation of each. And for starters, objective in simple terms is like an absolute thing. There's an absolute definitive answer for whatever it is. And subjective is more gray, so to speak, in terms that it's not directly defined and it is dependent on the flow of the current of the situation. Now, for morals are a set of principles that correlate with the terms good and bad, or righteous and wicked, or virtuous and evil, negativity and positivity. Now, if we put those together, we have objective morality and subjective morality. Objective morality is a permanent sort of, no, not like a permanent, but an absolute, continuous, insurmountable, irrevocable set of morals, set of rules that are defined as this being good and this being bad. Subjective is obviously the opposite. And it's kind of what we lead life with right now on Earth. Because it's dependent on the current of the flow. Now, I have an issue with subjective morality because of just the malleability, how malleable it is to interfere with. And I'll start off with this. I asked someone this once before, and this is in no disrespect to them, but I asked them, if you take reality, and let's say God isn't real in any aspect, whether without considering the debate on that topic alone, but without God and just regular morality we have, is it objective? And they told me yes, after a second of thinking. I think that is just not true at all. It's not. I can't believe that for a second. I personally think that the only way you have a definable structure for morality is to have it be objective, and what would inherently be the best hand to hand that out as the rules? I would think God, or just, a entity that transcends reality. The morals, the objective morals of the reality are made by this entity. And if there's no God, there's nothing. There's no more, nothing at all to say so in any way whatsoever. So, and how do I go about this? Okay, because there's the starting proposal that with subjective morality, it's subjective. It's not concrete. It's not insurmountably evident. It is in terms of subjective morality, it's completely opinionated. Completely. Like a good example is American slavery. It existed at least 2 centuries ago, and now it doesn't. It's illegal. Based on the opinions, the conflict of opinions of people in the South versus people in the North. That's literally why. On some bland terms, that's why it was a whole thing. The same way child marriage was okay back then. I don't know how long ago we permitted it, but now it's not. We call that pedophilia, understandably. And it's incredibly uncertain, fragile system. Because there's slavery, there's child marriage, which is not pedophilia, and slavery is slavery, American slavery. Then we have other issues which kind of corroborate this sentiment because it's dependent on opinions of people. Like if you ask about abortion, you have two different sides of like this fucked up thing. You have Roe v. Wade, the overturning and all this trial stuff going on with it because people can't agree. That's not a super secure and defined thing. The same with things like these are like generally, widely known issues, to be fair. I don't want to like sound super political, but it's the best examples I can give for you to understand. So you have things like abortion, and there's like immigration, etc. And there's God. People have different thoughts on God, or even the earth. Some think it's flat. Some think it's round. Now, on the notion with that leads to this. With subjective morality, you cannot earnestly prove to me that anything is bad or good. You can't explain to me why pedophilia would be bad. And I'm not saying it's like, this is like a hypothetical kind of example. It's like a devil's advocate kind of argument. I'm not arguing it saying it's good. I'm saying you can't definitively tell me it's bad with subjective morality, because that's your opinion. And this is kind of what I mean with the whole like slavery thing, the immigration thing, the abortion thing, that thing, anything. It was based on the majority. Someone says yay, and then someone else says nay, and however many hands stand up higher than the others and in more quantities is how the world goes. And this is why I can't say we got more defined than we were back then, because it's just that we differed from how we were back then. I'm not saying for the worse, it's worse here than it was then. It's just we're different. It's completely subjective. Like anyone can say like, do you think it was a good, like, and not like in a funny podcast joking way, but it's like, do you think it was good that slavery's gone? Someone says no and someone else says yes. It's like that. And back to that point earlier with, you can't explain to me why this thing is bad. You can say like, well, it hurts people. They can't legally like say, or they can't like, logically or morally consent in actuality because they're immature. It's like, well, so that's a poor way of explaining it, but what I mean with that is on like it's like a whole jumble of thoughts. I apologize, but this is like one of the things I thought of to try to explain this point. Where it's like, let's take me and you. I'll play the bad guy, and I'll say that I'm someone who's like addicted to these specific things that you deem wicked, and you want me to stop. And I say no. Because, and this is the actual distinction. I'm really bad at this. But the point I was like trying to actually make, because that was a poor way of doing it, is that someone, for example, I don't know, a drug dealer, just whatever kind of person that's bad nowadays that you can think of, a criminal, this person is no different than you. Why? On a principle, like on paper, bland basis, because there's a set of desires that you two have, and this is under a subjective kind of morality, like a sort of an atheistic world without a God or without any objectiveness, because I'm not going to support an argument where it's objective without a God, because I don't believe that's possible. That's illogical. Anyway, but you two are no different. They want to do this thing, and you deem it as wicked, but that's just your opinion. Why are they no different than you? Because they have a set of desires the same as you. They just have a different taste. And it can sound really weird for me to even say this kind of argument, because it could range from pedophilia to anything, really. And I say pedophilia because that's the extremes this can go to. You may not be able to imagine it, but that is an extreme it can go to. People have the capacity to do that. Same way with you having the capacity to saying, hey, stop, or just do something completely arbitrary and different, like giving to charity. They don't care. That's what they want to do. Because they like it, or it gives them, not to be like vulgar, but it gives them arousal or just some kind of pleasure out of the action of whatever they're doing. It could be the thrill if they're like getting high, or taking like a narcotic. Anything. That's why I don't have much faith in a morality type of environment that is subjective, because it's completely loosey-goosey. I mean, it's ridiculous. For anyone to say that, I'd call them a liar. Saying that without God or any kind of higher power to define rules, that the rules that we have now that can be, not really, but the rules that we have, for example, in this universe, if we didn't have a God, would still be insurmountably absolute. But they're not. Even now they're not, with the laws we have. But that's like a whole thing with that. I'm not sure how to lead in from this, because it's like a mix of two things. Because it's one thing because it goes into like a God aspect. And what I mean is with the God thing, because then we're going to take Christianity, for example, because I did want to lean into this a little. Because I would say I'm a Christian, but I'm trying. I don't feel worthy enough to say I am one. Now, what is it? I say it as an example because, like the Bible, there's like the 10 Commandments and other things. There's some clear rules that are defined that we need to follow to be righteous or saved. And without that, it's not the case. What I don't like about, even like with me saying that, the same art, like a rebuttal can be made, and I do agree with it, where someone can say, if you need a book to be a good person, you're not a good person. Which, yes, that is technically true, but also you're wrong. Because I usually see atheists say this, and it always seems to be looked at by like a defeat, like a kill shot kind of argument or like rebuttal, but I don't think it is. Now, am I disagreeing with them? Not completely, but it's to the point where, like with an atheist, you can't define what a good person is. You can't. Like a definitive one, it's subjective to what you think, not to what any of us think. Now, do I think just actions determine if you're a good person? No, I don't. But they do help. And in a manner of speaking, it's like, do you need a book to tell you how to be a good person? I don't exactly know everything. Not exactly. I'm not sure how else to put it. It's a completely weird topic. Like, it feels good when you rehearse in your head, but then it just kind of falls apart, because it's like some simple points and none of this is like new, but it's like simple points made obviously. Like with that argument, it's just, to me, it's illogical to make that, because you're saying your self-conceived idea of what a good person is completely arbitrary to any sort of thing that has an objective sort of morality into it. And I say arbitrary because yours is not well defined at all. It's loosey-goosey. Someone's mind could change tomorrow. Their actions could change, their habits could change, or anything. And even then, it's just your fucking opinion. That's the end of it, really. But and even then, I still agree with the argument saying that, I don't think a book that says, hey, do not lie, makes you a good person automatically. It's deeper than that. But the wisdom you could gather from certain knowledge, or even the Bible, or even the things that says that you shouldn't do. For instance, one is like promiscuity. They do not like adulterers or people who cheat, because that denies your actual loyalty you would have to your wife. It's a good thing to have. And even then, within Christianity, it's also it's not a works religion. Works is a part of it, but the other part is in here, your soul. Because without that, you're lost. So reading a book does not just make you a good... doing things by a book does not automatically make you a good person. It's literally a thing in scripture. Where it's that famous quote that I dread to hear any day, where it's depart me for I never knew you. Someone who, it's with speaking against God to man, and then God denies you because you did that. It's you weren't let's say brave. I use the word brave enough to speak of me to man. Why should I allow you to be with me as a man? You couldn't proclaim me in the physical world. Why should I let you in my kingdom? And same with this. Just because you do these things doesn't mean it's true. Okay? Just because you give to charity or do this or this, go to church every Sunday does not mean you're saved. Does not mean you're a good person. And then on the other end of the bell curve, it is as an atheist, you can't tell me what a good person is. Y'all can agree on a collective opinion, but that's just your opinion. That's it. Even now, in the atheistic worldview, you're just spouting a bunch of fucking gibberish in something we call words. We gave words the name words. It's like a circular thing. At some point, we decided to have rules. From cavemen. At some point we decided this thing. Was that always the case? No. But now it is. Does that make it completely right? No, it does not. It just means we made a certain change to this for whatever reason. So it's not objective at all. It's not. But even with an objective morality, just completing those things does not make you a good person. I mean, I could imagine it's possible someone could be act like a saint, and internally they want to murder the entire block. Maybe for no reason. It does not automatically deem you a good person in any way at all. But it definitely helps, I think. But the main point is you can't define me I already said the main point 8 times. It's ridiculous. But yeah, it's just it's something I've had an issue with, because then it goes to people who will say that's not very Christ-like of you, or that's no hate like Christian love. You don't know. Or it's how can you... Not even really, because part of it kind of makes sense. It's my thought process is completely scrambled. But in the way, it's same with the argument before about like if you need a book to tell you how to be a good person or not. In the same way, someone can say that's like no hate like Christian love, like just like someone who specifically an atheist, not to disrespect, but it's in that way, or it's someone who is proposing their opinion in my way as if it's fact, as if they're revealing some slithering serpent inside of me, like metaphysically, that I am apparently, based on their opinion, as if that's right and I'm just like treading on coals. I don't know. It's like it depends. It's like with any like post I see with like a gay person, and this is not to, because there's like the whole discourse with gays and Christians, or like if like being gay is okay. And the moment someone who, from what they gather, at least from, let's say for example, what I gathered, because I've done it before, that it like that being like gay seems it appears to be a sin from what I'm gathering. And then I express that, or even if not even like I express it on a random page of someone that's gay. It's like if someone says it's okay, Jesus said love is love, and then I'm like, hey, that's not true, and then they call me like, I say the phrase no hate like Christian love or some like nonsense like that. Because of a self-proposed idea based on someone's opinion, because they don't know enough, they're ignorant. And same with, it's ridiculous. I don't really know. Part of this was like, it could have been, part of this was on the main point of morality, but then it's also with that and that. It's a whole lot of things. A lot of discourse. It's weird. Because there's so much with that, the argument for morality. Because then there's like philosophers who'll be like, well, what does it come from? It's like survival things, like if I need to pee or like take a sip of a drink, this isn't water, but for example, like what is it deemed from? Something from survival. But then what are morals deemed from? Because they seem to come about because we had time to think a bit too much. Then we just became Socrates and now we're here. So it's very interesting how morality turned out. In the same way we see death with despair or just a sense of dread, despite how just inevitable it is, because we're all going to die. Just those things alone just make it so interesting to think about. But I feel like among anything, we can at least accept that fact that without a God, morality is subjective. In fact, morality is a self-construct made by us as we know it. We seem to be the only species that really, operates with that in any way. But, yeah, I don't know. That's about it. So, see ya.